You are listening to the Marc Guzman Podcast Experience. Before we get started, just a reminder that you can find all of my available rental properties on my website at marcguzman.com. If you own investment property, click on the Owner Services section to see our complete list of services. This episode is brought to you by Benekid Commercial Real Estate. There's more to building wealth in real estate than simply buying and holding. You need to have an entry and exit strategy. You need to know when to invest, have a plan to maximize return during the holding period, and have an exit strategy to sell and exchange the property into a bigger investment. This takes a set of highly qualified professionals to guide you from buying your first investment property to eventually upgrading to the 100-unit complex, providing wealth for you and your family. Brian Benekid and David Peel have over 35 years of combined experience specializing in helping families build wealth through real estate. They assist you in putting your investment on autopilot and will guide you along each exchange. Visit them at www.bcre.co. Again, that's www.bcre.co to give your future a jumpstart. A home is one of the most expensive and important investments you will make in your life. So when buying, you will want to make sure that the home you are getting is up to code and be a warm, comfortable place to live in. Part of being a property manager involves making sure all of the homes I manage are in tip-top shape and ready to house a new family. To do that, I'll utilize the services of HomeGuard Incorporated. My guests today are Kimberlee, Lizarraga, and Dave Lovelace with HomeGuard. This episode of Highest and Best will seek to help you understand the differences in various inspections, why you might need one, and what to expect from them. Dave, Kimberlee, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I'm excited to have HomeGuard here because I've used HomeGuard many times in the past before, and you guys do home inspections. So we're talking about the regular home inspection, termite inspection. You guys do roof. Are there any other type of inspections I'm missing?
Termite, property. We do home warranty as well, and hazard disclosure.
Natural hazard
reports.
disclosures.
Natural hazard
Okay.
disclosures.
Mm-hmm. One-stop shop. More you order, the more you save.
Okay,
Yeah.
Perfect. Now, I've used you guys in the past, and you guys make it very convenient in that we can book one date, everything gets done, all the inspections get done, because historically in real estate, you have to schedule multiple people, and it becomes this big scheduling nightmare sometimes, especially when you're in a rush of a transaction, 5-day, 7-day, 10-day inspection period, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. So how did both of you, and Kimberlee, we can start with you, how did you get into HomeGuard and home inspections?
So I started out 5 years ago. Yesterday was my 5th year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I actually was working with a local broker at a brokerage as an admin, office manager, assisting temporarily, and I was looking for an opportunity. I just got my business degree, and it was right before the market picked up, and I was like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? I need to really figure out exactly where I want to be with my career so that I can just grow from being with that company. And so having a business degree, you can kind of just do anything really with it. And you can kind of do that with most degrees. But having a business perspective, I was just looking for opportunity. Very optimistic individual. And so when the market was really low at that point, I was like, the world is my oyster. So on my last day, I actually met the vice president, Kathy Campbell. She came in on my last day, and I just printed out my resume 5 minutes before she showed up. And she mentioned that they're doing interviewing. There's a few other candidates that are interested, and she'd like to have me come in. And I was able to get the opportunity with flying colors, pass the interview process, and the rest is history. I've actually taken over 10 counties and six territories in the past 5 years. So
very cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited.
Yeah.
So I'm still just, making it happen. So I'm really excited to be here to express that to you guys. So
It's awesome.
thank you.
Before we continue, let's go ahead and move the mic a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, just make sure to talk into the mic.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, same for you, Dave. So, Dave, how did you end up getting into home inspections and termite inspections?
I actually started off in the termite inspection, much like any of us in that industry get into it. It's either through family, right? So I was, a pretty young guy, and I was dating this girl, and I started working for her dad on the summers while I was going to junior college, and we started doing stuff related to the termite work. I would go around and measure houses for cubic footage for the fumigation or the tinting of the homes. And I kind of just kind of fell into that and progressed my way through. I got my termite license, my inspector's license in like 1989. And I really enjoyed the, I'm out and about all the time. I'm outdoors, I'm indoors, I'm talking to people. What I was studying in school was along the lines of architecture or technical drawing, that sort of thing, which, would be sitting down all the time and being indoors. And I didn't even realize it. My side job, I enjoyed so much that I just kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, so it's funny you say that because I, too, originally was going to go to college to become an architect.
Right.
Yeah, and then I got into real estate and just fell in love with it. I mean, yeah, because architecture, you're literally behind a desk, floor plans, and putting it all together. And sometimes you're out in the field, but your job, my job, we're out in the field way more often, and that's
right.
A lot more fun.
Right. Well,
Yes.
I do have a desk job now, but I'm a little bit older. I can manage to sit there for a while now.
So you started with termite inspections,
Mm-hmm.
and then how do you get eventually connected with HomeGuard?
Well, HomeGuard is owned. One of the owners of HomeGuard is my brother-in-law, or former brother-in-law, and so it's kind of a family thing. Over the years, I've worked for my father-in-law. That's most of my career, probably 15 years at his company. And then I had a short period of time where I kind of moved out of the area and worked for a couple of different companies and ended up starting my own company. It was a very small operation, but that's all I really needed. I did move back to this area and began working for my brother-in-law. So at HomeGuard. So I've been working at HomeGuard on and off, or with the family for most of my career.
Okay.
I have 9 or 10 years on my own. So.
Okay. So you also brought up license for termite inspection, right?
Correct.
So a lot of people, and this is something that comes up quite a bit, is if I'm representing the buyer and they say, no, I don't think I really need these inspections. I'm just going to have my uncle or my friend, my buddy come by, take a look at it, but they're not licensed inspectors, you know? And I think a lot of people don't understand really fully what a home inspection and termite inspection really entail. And some people I recommend, hey, you need a termite inspection. Oh, I don't have termites in my home. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not what it really covers. So you guys brought something here that's very cool. This ties into the actual termite report. So why don't we briefly talk about what a termite report really is, and then let's get into what you guys brought here.
Sure.
So in California, the title of the report is a wood-destroying pests and organisms report. So the pests would be bugs like termites or beetles, wood-destroying pests, carpenter bees, carpenter ants.
There's some sample of these bugs. I don't know if they're going to show up on camera. But
yeah, it might be a little bit hard to see some of those. And the wood-destroying organisms would be water damage or fungus infection and damage, things that can affect the home as far as damages and the longevity. In years ago, when you went to purchase a home, oftentimes the lender would require that you have an inspection performed so that you have a minimum, like a level playing field. The house needs to be at least in this condition before we want to loan you the money for the home, because we don't want unexpected costly repairs down the road that might put you in a position that might make it difficult maybe to make your loan payments. That's kind of the basic theory or basis behind the inspections that we do. Mm-hmm. You can kind of probably apply the same types of things to a home inspection. It's a really good snapshot of the home at the time of the inspection. That gives you the ability to kind of make the decision about what it is that you're buying. But we do have the main purpose is to identify the wood-destroying bugs and the wood-destroying organism, bugs and fungus.
Mm-hmm.
So with this box that I brought, I bring to all my trainings actually in one-on-ones. So this box is actually 30 years old. We are celebrating our 30th year this year. August 1st is our anniversary, and we're a Leo company. Yay, Leos. And you can see in this box here on the top left corner the 3 different termites that we give examples for. For instance, the subterranean termite, the dampwood termite, the drywood termite. Below that is their fecal, because they do eat through the wood and the mud. So they poop out the pellets. And below that is the wood damage that they do. So you can see that it's different based upon whichever insect, does the infestation.
Right. So you can, as an inspector, you can identify the termites sometimes just by the damage that they leave behind, or by the fecal pellets that they leave behind. Most of the time you don't actually see the bugs themselves because they're inside of the wood members, and oftentimes they're inside the enclosed walls. So it takes a bit of experience and know-how to know where to look for these kinds of insects in the home. And we're very methodical. We go through the home in a particular way to find these things and find evidence of these bugs and damages. In areas that a homeowner, even though you're living there for years on end, you're not likely to look in these areas. I mean, not a lot of people are crawling underneath their houses, in the crawl space underneath. That would be one of the key areas where we look. And it's not just a matter of looking in the crawl space. There are specific areas in the crawl space where you look, and once you know how to look for them and identify, it's pretty easy to.
Yeah, and the damages that these bugs can cause, I mean, you're talking about maybe a few $1,000s up, and I've seen some reports come back at $80,000, $100,000, depending on how extreme the damages are.
The infestation.
It can be significant.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would think it would be recommended, like maybe every 2 or 3 years, for a homeowner to get a termite inspection just to stay on top of this and just make sure that they're taking care of those damages, right?
That's a very good idea, because at least then you have an awareness. Of course, you can live in a home for several years, 15 years or something like that, and not have any problems. But if you have an inspection every 3 years and something develops, it's much better to catch it earlier than it is to catch it later. You might be able to.
The inspection is only $150 or something like that, right?
I would say
$175.
So it depends on where the property is located,
and the size too, right?
Go over pricing later if you want, but basically in a nutshell, it's based on square footage. We have 2 different price points: build through escrow or pay at time pricing. But in the Bay Area, our pricing is a lot different versus Sacramento Valley region. So it's it's a lot different.
Yeah,
so,
where I was going to go with it is that it's very insignificant cost to spend every 2 or 3 years to have an inspection done. I mean, even if you really wanted to be really on top of it and just had it done once a year, just to make sure, okay, I'm taking care of all this damage along the road. Because when it comes time to selling the property, if at that point you do a termite inspection and realize there's $12,000 in damages, $18,000 in damages, that buyer coming in is going to look at that property and say, okay, well, I need to figure out how is this going to affect my offering price.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. So it's about $300 to $400 on average for property to have a termite inspection in the Bay Area. With the home inspection, that can range company to company. Obviously, pricing is different company to company, but with us, it's like $500 to $600. But it definitely is worth the investment. We highly recommend it, which is another thing that we do cover in our trainings. And I brought as an example in our home maintenance tips upon taking ownership. That is definitely something that we do recommend throughout regular maintenance, spring and fall, seasonal, and preventative tips that we mentioned too. Mm-hmm. A lot of agents, share this with their new homeowners to help have them protect their future investments.
Yeah, that's great. Now, home inspection. How does a home inspection differ from a wood-destroying pest inspection?
There may be some overlap on certain things that we look at, but on a home inspection, you're really looking at structural components. You're evaluating you're trying to identify any major indications of major structural failure. So while on a termite inspection you're looking at damages caused by insects, you're not necessarily looking at the concrete foundation to see if there's any indication of settlement or failures or improper things. We're also looking at the major systems of the home, like your heating and air conditioning system, and checking for operation. We're identifying what components are actually in the structure. Some homes don't have air conditioning, so we kind of look at the major appliances that are built in the kitchen areas, your ovens and the cooktops and the dishwasher, and we check them for operation. We're looking for health and safety issues, which is, not necessarily what we're looking for on a termite inspection. So there's quite a bit of difference. You would want to get both of the inspections performed to, even though there's some overlap. Like if there's a plumbing leak, of course, that's probably going to show both on a home inspection and on a termite inspection, because the plumbing leak could lead to termites or water damage, so it'll show up on that report as well as on the home inspection.
Yeah, and I think these inspections are really important to add with seller disclosures when you go list the property.
Absolutely.
So on every listing I have, we always prepare. In fact, you guys did an inspection for me on Rancho Road in El Sobrante for a listing. In fact, now that you're here, I've got another listing in Emeryville, so I got to set that up with you guys. But basically, we get these reports put together and then have them ready for with seller disclosures for buyers coming in, so they know what they're buying,
Right.
They know what they're getting into.
Right.
Now, same as a termite inspection, I think the home inspection is good for a homeowner to get, because some things do pop up on a regular basis.
Yes.
Now, would it be good for a homeowner to get it every 3 years, a home inspection?
I'm not, the home inspection, that may be something that might, I don't know that that's important to get every 3 years as it would be to get like a termite inspection, because as the homeowner, you're operating the systems in the home. You have some awareness of what's going on. If you look at the home inspection that you get when you order it, we do have a list of things that you should be looking at as far as regular maintenance and things like that. I mean, if somebody was to service their furnace every year, for example, and keep it in good operating condition, it's much more likely to last over the long term. Whereas if you just run your furnace every year and don't actually have somebody take a look at it and clean it and keep it in top operating condition, it's maybe not going to last as long, and you may have other issues with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like having a car. We all have cars. We all have, to maintain them. And in order for it to last, we have to get their every 5,000 mile oil change, or car tire rotation, or wheel alignment, things like that. So, I mean, we don't drive our houses, so we don't know how many miles we're putting into it. So, but I would say, like Dave said, it really depends on how often you're using them. But even if you don't use them, it's good, because I know in some cases where properties are just sitting there, for instance, with seller's coverage that we offer through home warranty, if appliances or systems just sit there for months and months, that can also damage them as well. So just kind of keep things into perspective.
Okay. Now, Dave, I got to ask you, what's one of the best stories you have in home inspections? What's something odd that you found, something funny, maybe a horror story?
Wow.
In your years of experience, you have to have something very unique, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have a story that my father-in-law used to tell all the time about, and this goes back way before my time. But when he was first opening and operating his termite business, there was a particular inspector that he had, and he was always seemingly not crawling underneath the houses, because part of what we need to do in order to get the inspection done is we need to go in these areas where we can find the termites and stuff.
The attic and crawl space.
So he had an employee that called up and said, "I'm not going to crawl this house because I think there's dead bodies underneath here."
Oh my gosh.
That's it. You're fired. But yeah, somebody had stuffed some.
Oh, it turned out to be legit?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That is the biggest horror story I've ever heard.
Wow, that is
But,
a horror
um,
story. It's not even Halloween yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scary.
It's just- I don't know if that's enough. It's just that story, and I don't know. But there's always interesting things that pop up. I mean, it's always a little bit interesting when you go into a crawl space of a house and you see little eyes staring back at you, and there's a raccoon or something down there, or, or you see the dead snake skin where the snake has peeled off his skin, and he's just like, oh wow. 1989, there was the big earthquake that we had here in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
That made doing inspections around the homes and underneath the homes pretty interesting, because we had a lot of aftershocks, and it was a little bit nerve-wracking trying to be in an enclosed space like that, and you have a little bit of a rumble, especially if you're out looking at an older house that has older foundations and stuff, and the one across the street has fallen off of its foundation because of the major shake a few days before. That was pretty nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And interesting.
Yeah, I just had a house that was built in the 20s that had brick foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I would imagine during the aftershock would be extremely scary to be underneath that property.
Wow.
Right.
I mean, like legit brick, and nothing would, I mean, it's like original.
Yeah.
That's
I saw a
crazy.
lot of houses like down in the Fresno area. Apparently it was very common to have a brick foundation, and it doesn't even appear that the bricks were either, they never were like grouted or cemented together. They just stack them up.
Mm-hmm.
Or all of the grouting and cement has deteriorated because they're 100 years old, and so they're literally just bricks stacked. There's nothing holding them in place.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Wow.
times
Wow.
change, things get better.
Yeah. Kimberlee, you mentioned seller's coverage.
Mm-hmm.
What's seller's coverage? Because a lot of people are not aware of seller's coverage and what it really does.
So seller's coverage is going to protect both ends. The buyer, the seller that's listing the home. It can go up to 180 days during the listing period. So I always like to ask, bring things to perspective for my agents. So what's the average day on the market for a home?
It depends what area and the price, but let's say 45 days.
Okay, so that would probably cost maybe $45 to $50 or $55 for the whole seller's coverage. It's $1.15 per day. And basically what it covers, as a home warranty company, we do strictly systems and appliances. And so if anything were to go out during the listing period, God forbid, smoke detector or the cooktop, or not windows, not fences in the back, because that's different, systems and appliances, you would be covered during the listing period. For that transaction to go a little bit smoother, because sometimes things go out, it's for peace of mind. And when you guys do eventually get that potential buyer to come in, you don't have to really feel the need to negotiate otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
So I have a listing coming up in Emeryville.
Mm-hmm.
I get seller's coverage on it. Let's say there's a plumbing leak that begins to happen afterwards. Is that covered?
So it really depends. We'd have to send a technician out there. So as a home warranty company, and this is industry-wide, it's not just with HomeGuard, we are regulated by the State of Insurance Board. So we have to follow a strict black and white contract. And so all of our technicians are outsourced, like every other home warranty company out there. We solely depend on the local technicians. So if there's a plumber within the local area for your situation, we'll call them. They have to be licensed and registered, and we send them out there within 24 to 48 hours. And if it's an emergency, obviously we can definitely send someone sooner. There's out-of-network options available. But basically the technician would go out there and check and advise and determine what the actual diagnosis is. He'll determine, based upon his specialty, if it's something that was just happened at that moment or something that happened as a pre-existing situation, for instance. So we, as a company, have to determine if we can cover it or not. So we have, as a contract, we have plans, 3 different plans, and basically with the seller's coverage, we have a standard and advantage plan. And basically what happens is, depending on what policy you select, can determine what can be covered. All home warranty companies are not out there to cover everything. There's no home warranty company out there that can cover everything. We actually have policies that have different coverages. So it's definitely really interesting. And I actually brought something here too, which we actually include in our training packets because I do home warranty trainings as well. Actually, it's this one. Grab it. So understanding your home warranty. So this is really good for buyers because that seller's coverage rolls into a buyer's protection plan. And sometimes, money's tight. And when it comes to looking over the numbers and looking over what, the potential buyer's putting out of their pocket, and if there's ever a question, do you want to get a home warranty? Sometimes they're going to say, no, I don't want to have to pay any more than what I have to. But what's going to happen after the close of escrow? There's a huge percentage, it's like 50-50 chance that you can actually run into a situation where you might have to pay out of pocket a large amount. And so
the most common one I run into is where the water heater goes out.
Right.
And so the water heater goes out. And what's the service fee that you guys charge?
We charge $75, and that's different company to company.
Yeah. So water heater goes out. You call up the home warranty company. It's $75. You guys dispatch a local plumber. They go out there. They determine, we need to fix this component. Maybe the total cost comes out to, let's say, $400.
It's actually on average between $115 to $1,500 for water heater issues.
Yeah, and there's been a few cases where it needs a full replacement of the water heater, and you guys will replace it, and the only thing that the homeowner paid was $75 service fee.
Right, exactly. But again, depending on their policy in which they select, can determine how much we're capable of covering. For instance, as I was mentioning, the understanding your home warranty, this is huge in the training packets that I include. So this helps buyers understand why they need a home warranty and why they should consider having one. So that helps, the agents. We don't really expect you guys to know all this. We don't expect you guys to remember all this. That's why we provide information so you can help educate your clients, things like that.
Now, if someone currently does not have a home warranty on their property, can they call you up and get a home warranty on their property?
Sure. Yes. So all home warranty companies in the industry allow current homeowners and properties that are being purchased or about to be sold to have a home warranty, and there's no inspection required. So
now, do you allow rental properties also?
Yes, we do.
Okay. So that's one thing, because my main thing is property management, and there's always repairs that come up, always. And so it's a matter of, and you know what? There's also home warranties that you can buy for complexes too.
Right.
A 3-unit building, 4-unit building, whatever the case is. So you modify the plans for these different specific properties, which is great. And so repairs come up. We, as a management company, we contact the home warranty company and then get everything. We coordinate with you guys to then get whatever repair needs to be done.
Right. So but the best thing to do is when you have a listing, obviously you get the pre-sale inspections. You determine in the home inspection what's determined as an issue that is, like, for instance, like a section 1 or section 2, I like to say, but that's more for like the termite. But for the home inspection, you have a list of, the foundation, if there's any issues of the, the systems, like the plumbing, the electrical, the AC.
Right.
There's been cases where, we've actually, I was working in the Sacramento area for the past 3 years, and I've been in the Bay Area. I'm coming back to the Bay Area, but there's been cases where I've heard agents, say, the AC, we couldn't test it during a certain time of the day because we went out there at 8:30 in the morning, and when they closed escrow, they have an issue with the AC.
Right.
And it's, it's hot now. It's not cold, so it's hot. The new buyer's in the property, and they're calling for the home warranty. So it's like, well, you, as an agent, knowing, reading the report for the home inspection before you even close escrow is the biggest thing we try to educate our agents at the end of the day. Is if you learn anything from us, read the report, because the report indicates we couldn't test it because of it was below 53, 65. And so below 65 degrees, we can't test to AC. And so we can test it. We can come back after it's a certain degree. No cost to that. But definitely get things checked to determine what the actual issue is before the close of escrow, because as a home warranty company, we are limited. Like I said, we are regulated by the State of Insurance Board.
Yeah. Well, you also mentioned something very important, that the agents should read the reports.
Yes.
So many agents do not read the reports.
Exactly.
And that's one thing that's very frustrating in this industry, is just when people are not reading the reports, because the reports are detailed. They're detailed, and you guys design them in a way where you guys point out the obvious. It's there in front of you. You just have to read it. And a lot of people will get those reports, have their clients sign off on it, and move on. But no, you have to sit down and read those reports, because there's also, on termite reports, sometimes a further inspection pops up.
Right.
That's what a lot of people. So why don't we talk about that briefly? Section 1, Section 2, and further inspections, because a lot of people will get the report, say, great, we have a inspection report, and that's that.
Right.
And then no one bothers to look at, well, what is Section 1 and Section 2 differences? Mm-hmm. And then where does a further report come into play?
So we could start by just discussing the definitions of Section 1 and Section 2 and unknown further inspections. This all came into play to cater to the real estate market, because back in the day we used to do an inspection, well, even before my time, and just note everything that might be either actual termite infestation or damage, or actual water damage, and then we would note anything that might contribute, a contributing factor like a plumbing leak or something that might lead to future termites or water damage, but not really good information. But then it's hard to go through and decide what really needs to be done on this termite inspection report to get the house up to par for sale or for whatever. And so they've come up with the Section 1, the Section 2, and the unknown further inspection. So Section 1 would be actual termites or water damage. Section 2 would be things that, if not corrected, may cause or lead to future problems with termites or water damage. Unknown further inspection items would be things where there might be an area of the house that we normally would look at during the course of an inspection, but
you couldn't, because there's dead bodies.
There's dead bodies or storage in the garage, or maybe we see something like in the garage there's a big water stain on the ceiling, and there's a patio balcony up above it. It looks like maybe there might be some moisture or leakage going on, but we can't see the wood members in that area. So it needs to be opened up to determine, is there actual leakage still going on? Is there damage inside the enclosed wall? Mm-hmm. So those would be fairly important.
Or a common case too is when maybe they're in the process of moving out, and they have boxes stacked in the garage.
Yeah,
and you can't even access.
Common.
Yeah, and you can't access, or you can't look at the walls inside of the garage.
Which is why we have this in our training packets to give to the agents to share with their clients to prepare for a complete home inspection. This is huge, because one of the things here is, as you mentioned, it's actually number 3 here. Make sure that to have the perimeter of the garage cleared approximately 2 feet so that the inspector can inspect the entire garage. Any storage in a built-in cabinet does not need to be removed. And that actually, that's for a home inspector. Or termite.
Both. It applies to both.
It applies
actually,
to both.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I know sometimes people have the entire garage filled, as mentioned. They put everything in the middle, but the foundation needs to be checked. So there's been times where we actually have requested to be a further inspection because we couldn't see in the middle of the garage. Yeah. There was too much, items covering the foundation that we needed to check.
Right. Well, for like the termite inspection, it's really important to look at the perimeter. That's one of the most common places to find subterranean termite accessing structure. On a property inspection, you're also looking at the surface of where you park the cars in the garage, the condition, if there's cracks and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, so it's important when you read these inspections to look at those further inspections. What the further inspections required, because I mean, one further inspection could add up to thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
If you're depending on what it is.
Yeah.
Right, like that AC that we couldn't test, we could go back out
Yeah.
there, but we just needed that phone call from the agent after they read the report.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a relationship between the home inspection and the home warranty, because the home inspection, when it's performed, it'll establish that we've operated the oven and it was found to be working at the time of our inspection.
Mm-hmm.
So we know a snapshot in time when the oven is working, for example. And then later on, after the people move in, if it stops working, then they can establish that timeline. Well, it was working before and now it's failed. And therefore, that would be something that's more likely to be covered under a home warranty, rather than if there was storage in the kitchen and we were not able to operate the oven for whatever reason, and our report says that we didn't operate it, then you can't rely on that home inspection report to say to your home warranty company, yeah, we know for sure it was actually working at a certain point and now it's failed. Because I think if it was a pre-existing condition, I don't know that that's not something that home warranty would
So that's
cover.
another thing to point out too. And a lot of people think a home warranty company is just going to fix everything in their house when something goes wrong.
Not the case.
But yeah, that's not the case.
It's a limited
Number
warranty.
one is a limited warranty based on certain components that you guys cover. Number two, it doesn't cover pre-existing conditions.
All home warranty companies, it's a state law. By law, we cannot cover pre-existing, so it's best.
And you guys would make no money.
Right. I mean, we would, yeah, it doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
so that's why the laws are, regulated to having us cover certain things. That's why it's best to know which home warranty covers certain things. For instance, with HomeGuard, how we differentiate ourselves in the industry is that we're privately owned. We pay our service techs within 15 days of providing the services, whereas other companies are doing 3 to 4 months out. So we have service techs that want to work more with us to get the job done faster, to get paid for the service.
That's a huge difference, because
Big
I noticed that
difference.
even on property management side, when we're paying our vendors consistently, and we know they do work for other management companies and they're not being paid consistently by those management companies, all of a sudden they're like, hey, whatever you guys need, just tell me. And all of a sudden we get the preference and we get the vendors that want to work with us, and then they'll do things for us left and right and make us a priority. So that's huge.
Very, very big difference. And then obviously price, we're very competitive. And one biggest thing is that we rely solely on the feedback of the agents, and their customers that they talk to, and the brokers specifically. HomeGuard is designed strategically as a privately owned company, that we have those relationships with the brokers and the realtors. We have had situations where we've been asked to maybe in the future consider having something covered in the home warranty. We might have not been able to cover it at that moment, but maybe in the future, in the following years, maybe 1 or 2 years, we could possibly have it covered eventually, but now we can't. For instance, enhanced slab and additional pipe leak coverage, that is a maximum coverage of up to $2,500 per policy. Nobody else is doing that in the industry for home warranty.
I've never seen that before, and that is a common thing that I've run into quite a bit. Slab foundation, pipes, everything are designed back then to be built underneath the slab, and then all of a sudden you have a water leak. Now what happens? Well, you're not going to break up the ground, break up the foundation to get to these pipes. I mean, I guess you could, but it doesn't make sense financially. So then you have to cut off these lines, reroute everything through the walls. And so that's what that covers, up to $2,500.
Exactly. And in most cases, they can run up to, I heard $10,000 to $15,000. It depends on the property.
Yeah.
But going back to home warranties in the industry, we cannot cover everything. But at least with HomeGuard, we do cover that, whereas nobody else does. We cover up to $2,500.
Yeah, no, and you know what? That helps out a lot, because they range anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000. I mean, I had an apartment that popped up at $6,500.
Exactly.
There was a house that we did for $8,500. So it can get very expensive, but $2,500 is $2,500, and it helps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Yeah. So, what are some basic maintenance tips that you think homeowners should really look out for?
caulking and sealing around the water areas, the kitchen countertop, between the sink and the counter and the backsplash, the bathrooms. All of these water areas should be maintained on a regular basis. This is going to go a long way in preventing water damage to the bathroom floors, which can be very expensive to fix if it goes, if you get water underneath the floor and it starts to cause damage and then it runs underneath a bathtub or a shower, a floor might be $600 or $700 to fix, but then if it starts going underneath the shower, that might be several $1,000s to fix. Mm-hmm. So these are easy maintenance things. The maintenance is relatively inexpensive to do, even if you hired a handyman or a professional to come and do it, with respect to the damage that can result if it's not done. I think I mentioned earlier, I always recommend that people have their furnace serviced once a year, or sometimes some people will do it twice a year, because if there's something going on with the furnace, there's all different kinds of furnaces. If you have a high efficiency furnace that develops a lot of condensation and there's dust and debris in the tubes and it starts to clog up, that can cause corrosion and it can cause premature failure of like a computer board, or the cabinet can start to leak and get inefficient, or it's just not going to operate like it should. So with regular maintenance, that's going to last you much more. Not only the actual component itself, the furnace in this case, but the operation of it. It's going to work much more efficiently when it's trying to cool the house down or heat the house up. So you're going to have a savings on your energy expenditures. So those are some examples of some maintenance things that are, pretty reasonable to actually.
Have you done many inspections with on properties that are on coastlines?
Yeah, I've actually done quite a bit on the coastline.
So how does the marine life affect properties on coastlines?
So on the coast, we have the fog. This is why we have the redwoods, like in the Santa Cruz Mountains, because we have this regular fog that comes in and brings a tremendous amount of moisture, because we don't have enough rainfall here to support those trees. Well, if you have a home or a building that's in that fog zone, there is quite a bit of moisture that comes with that. So when we're doing, if I'm doing a termite inspection in those areas, I'm looking for real closely around the exterior claddings of the home, where everything comes together and how everything is sealed up and how well maintained the paint and stuff is, because the moisture is going to, like on a rainfall, the water comes straight down, hits the roof, and if everything's working properly, it's going to shed away from the house. With the fog, moisture gets in to areas where you wouldn't expect it to go, and it can cause some pretty serious problems with water damage. Those conditions are also conducive to wood-destroying beetles. So when we get up into Marin County or San Francisco, parts of Oakland, and on the coast, we have powder post beetles, which can cause a tremendous amount of damage over the long run to wood structures.
Is it this guy right here on the bottom, or is that the wood boring beetle?
So there's a couple of different ones, but yeah, so we have some powder post beetle type things here with their powdery frass.
So it looks like a dot, but that actually goes straight through the wood. So if you look at it at a certain angle, you can look straight through the wood.
Oh, yeah, I see it. Yeah. Okay.
So you'll see these little, when you go to the beach, you'll see the driftwood that has all the little holes in it. It looks like somebody had it next to the dartboard in the garage. But when you break that open, the inside of the wood is all powdery, because the larvae, they're the ones that cause the damage. They're inside, when they develop, they're turning that wood into a powder. So, you see a piece of wood on one of these older houses that's exposed in the garage. It looks okay with the exception of the holes. You take a screwdriver and you push into it, and it literally just falls apart. So you can, there's definitely some issues around the coastal homes that you need to be watching out for.
Mm-hmm. In the Bay Area, we have a lot of that fog that comes in.
Yeah, it is. I think that those issues are.
Subterranean.
Yeah, we have those coastal issues on the coast, but the Bay Area is a really nice climate. If we enjoy the climate, that's the same type of climate and habitat that the wood destroying bugs like, the termites, the beetles. They love that. They love those conditions as well as we do.
Now, after the inspection reports are received, if someone wanted to get the repairs done, they can just contract you guys to take care of it, right?
Yes. We do actually have a huge repairs team. That's technically one of the 6 services that we offer. We say 5, but there's 6 actually, and that's the repairs. We do termite repairs, and we also do roof repairs. We cannot, by law, do home inspection repairs. So one thing I wanted to highlight, since I'm mentioning that, is the home inspection industry is unregulated. So anybody could be a home inspector. You and I could start our own business tomorrow, just
Really?
as long as we have our business license, get our business cards, get flyers, start going around, just start racking up business and do these home inspections. But how legit are and how thorough are these inspections, and how experienced are you is the question. We've been actually lobbying to get this regulated for years, and I know one of the owners of HomeGuard, Jim Hessling, he's been really trying to get this passed to get regulated, because there's no regulation at all. If you Google home inspectors, it can go from $0 to get certified, or to $2,500 to $4,500 or something like that.
$3,000 or $4,000, yeah.
Yeah, to get certified. With HomeGuard, one of the biggest differences is that all of our inspectors are ASHI certified and members of ASHI,
Right.
which is the
American Society of Home Inspectors.
Exactly. So you can see here that Dave here has a patch on his left shoulder. So we have him as
This is a club that we have. This is the 10,000 Inspections Club. So over the course of my career, actually well over 10,000 inspections.
Wow.
Somewhere pushing close to 20,000 inspections for myself. But
Wow.
So
So do you get another badge when you hit 20,000?
I do, but I don't know if I'll ever get there, because I'm in management now, so I don't get into the field on a daily basis. So I think it might be a long time before I get there, even though I'm pretty close.
Yeah.
So that
Where are you at,
being
like
said-
19,000?
I think I'm around 18. Yeah.
Oh
18.
wow, you're so
Wow.
close. Just do
Yeah.
it. Come on. Get
Yeah, I
that
feel like you
patch.
got to get back out there just to get to
Just to get that
20,000 and then
going.
get back into management.
Oh, that's funny. I
Don't
know,
let that
right?
out. They might just do that.
But the reason why I bring that up is because every company is different. There's a lot of companies that outsource their inspectors, whereas with HomeGuard, we actually have all of our inspectors employed. So we're going to have that E&O insurance and that workman's comp. We actually just increased our E&O from $1 million to $10 million so that we can actually do the pool safety check that just recently came into effect January 1st, 2018.
What is that?
So, Dave, you
Well,
wanna-
so they made a new law as of January that requires the home inspector, if there is a pool or a water feature at the property, to check for safety. Certain safety devices are in place. There's like 7 different safety devices, and you have to have at least 2 of them. And my experience is that I don't know that it would be really rare to come across a home that actually has the required safety devices in place.
Mm-hmm.
The pool, you've seen the mesh fences that surround the pool,
Yeah.
right? And they're built a certain way and to certain specifications for safety, to keep kids from getting into the pool unexpectedly and potentially drowning. So you have that would be like one of the components that you could list as a safety feature. But in addition to that, you have to have one other, and the features are it's pretty rare right now to find both of those safety features. It's going to be an alarm on doors, that exit into the backyard that's accessible to the pool. I think people used to feel like if they had a fence around their yard, if they have a swimming pool and they can lock that fence, that was one of the safety features. But it's actually the pool itself has to be fenced off from the house, so that if there's a small child in the house, they can't get to the pool without coming across one of these safety features. They have a thing that floats in the water that detects movement and sounds an alarm. There's things that you can put on the doors that exit to the yard where the pool is. For some reason, I can't think of all of the 7 different ones off the top of my head.
Yeah, no, but that's really important to have if someone has a pool at their property, because as a management company, we won't take on any properties unless there's some kind of safety and multiple safety devices on these pools, because the danger and then also the liability
Right.
that you're exposed to, right?
Exactly. That's
But-
why we increased our E&O insurance, because the state is requiring all home inspectors to check the safety of the pool. And they have that choice to do it or not. If they do, then they're taking on that liability. But that's why they're not doing it, because it's too much of a liability. That's why HomeGuard, that's how we differentiate ourselves in the industry, is that we are offering more value to you and your clients. We're here to take that liability off your shoulders. So
Right.
with the going back to how many inspections Dave has done, we have 95 inspectors. When I first started, we had 35. So in 5 years, we've grown. And we do a lot of trainings with our new inspectors.
Right.
We have a great extensive training course for our brand new inspectors. And
Right.
And I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I mean, one of the reasons that I really love working for HomeGuard is that they have a way of looking at the industry and trying to determine, what can we do to be successful. And for us to be successful, it's helping you to be successful. So we really have a way of listening to the customer. And sometimes the industry as a whole doesn't necessarily do that. A very simple example of that is if we go back just several years, the clientele is asking us, hey, we have these short contingency periods. We need our inspections performed right away, and then we need to get those inspections right away. I mean, the Structural Pest Control Board on the termite side of things, they allow us 10 days to turn an inspection in. But in the real world, in the real estate market, we don't have 10 days to, after we've performed an inspection and say, no, we have now 10 days to produce that report. The industry's saying we actually need same-day reports if possible. And I think a lot of the termite industry and the inspection industry is saying there's no way we can do a same-day inspection report. That's not even possible. So we don't say that at HomeGuard. We say, well, how can we make that happen? What do we need to do? What changes can we make to actually try to make that happen? And so, unfortunately, technology develops. We use the iPads. We have better ways of producing the reports. So rather than doing field work as an inspector and then coming back and generating paperwork, we can do the field work and the basic paperwork at the same time, and then have a staff that can put that all together. And we can do an inspection at 8:30 in the morning and have that inspection to the client before the end of the day.
It's amazing.
So, and maybe at a certain point that costs a little bit more money to do that. But if that's what the industry is demanding of us, we'll figure out how to do that, and will bring us into a position where we're capable of actually
Most people will
performing
pay
that.
a little extra money for a same-day report if that's really needed.
And we don't charge extra for a same-day report. We just organize ourselves and increase, a little bit by a little bit, get to where we need to do, and then we make it happen.
That's amazing. So, yeah, I know you guys are one of the leaders in the industry, and I'm glad to have you on the podcast. Thanks for coming in, sharing all this information.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, and I really love this whole display that you brought in. So hopefully we got, a good view
Zoomed
of it
in.
on the camera. Yeah. So, Kimberlee,
Yes.
Dave, thanks for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you.
If someone wants to schedule a home inspection, what's the best way? A home termite inspection, what's the best way?
So we have a few different ways. We have www.homeguard.com. You can schedule your inspections online, or if you want to call our customer service, we do have an 800 number or direct local number. You can call 925-294-1800. Our schedulers and customer service is ready to take your phone call and help you get that scheduled in a timely manner. They're going to ask you specific questions. Even if you go online, you're going to have to provide us, with who the seller is, if you're an agent, who you're representing. Is there a crawl space? Is there attic? Is it on a slab? What's the square footage? Things like that to help get our inspectors scheduled and sent out there to know what they're inspecting. So it's pretty simple. You can either call me if you have any questions or concerns. I'm here. I'm the assistant sales manager for HomeGuard. So let me know if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you. And Dave, Get back out there. Get that 20,000 badge.
All right. We'll work on it.
Oh, can I mention one
of
last
course.
thing? We do have blogs. If you go to our website, as mentioned, check out our resources tab and also our blogs. It's on the very bottom of the page. You can see that we have local lawyers that are writing blogs of things that are coming up in the industry to help educate the agents and their customers, their clients, their homeowners, their future buyers. So if you guys ever want to look up that Pool Safety Act, we did write a blog about that, and it actually shows the the list of 7 features that the home inspector is looking for to fulfill that the 2 requirements.
2 of the 7.
So check us out. We definitely appreciate the support. Thank you.
Awesome. And thanks for being on the podcast.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Thank you to our producer, Sam Lubin. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share the podcast. Remember, you can listen to the podcast on iTunes, Podbean, iHeartRadio, Google Play, SoundCloud, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. For more information on my business as a property manager and real estate team, go visit my website at marcguzman.com. I really want to thank all of you for listening. It means the world to me, and I hope today's episode provides you value in your day-to-day life. I created this podcast to help showcase the many great people that live in this world and help share some knowledge that I've learned along the way in life. Again, thank you for listening. Check out our sponsors, and I'll catch you on the next episode.